Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to Dark Side Movie Reviews. Especially if you are new here, a special welcome to you. And you know what we're talking about, right? We're talking Into the Badlands, Season 3, Episode 5, Carry Tiger to Mountain. I love this show. And you probably know that one of the primary goals of this channel is really to get more eyes on this show on this platform. So I do want to say that if you're here and you've not subscribed, consider subscribing. And I say this all the time about this show. I really hope that you love what we're going to talk about today and that you have something to express and you will join the community so that we can get into this show. It is the best show on AMC. I just hands down, that's just where I am. But before we get into it, I do have to give a shout out to Mike B. So Mike B is someone that I actually reached out to because I wanted to collab with him about this show because he covers this show as well. And he covers it in such a different way than I do. I mean, we both talk about what happens in the show, but the energy that he brings to his coverage is a little bit different than mine. So you have to check Mike's channel out if you have not, because he does a really awesome job of covering the show. But not just that. One of the things that Mike does that I do not is he covers just about everything that's hot and trending on TV. So if you're watching it, I'm sure Mike is covering it. He's covering Power, he's covering Empire, he's covering Walking Dead, he's covering the haves and the have-nots. He was covering Game of Thrones when that was out. So the bottom line is if you're watching it, Mike is covering it. So if you're looking for some community around that, then check out his channel. I will definitely put a link to his channel in the description below. And thank you, Mike, for shouting us out. We are a much smaller channel than you are, and I definitely appreciate you showing us some love. And hopefully, man, one day we can connect and really do a great collab around Into the Badlands. So thanks again, man, and let's get into this. So I made some predictions. You know, at the end of episode 4, I made some predictions about some things that I thought would happen. And as it turns out, some of my predictions became true. We were having a little bit of discussion about this on Reddit. And some people were thinking I was a little bit off. Some people were thinking, maybe I'm right. So some of them came true. Some of them did not come true. So let's do a little recap of the show. And then we'll talk about some things around the show and where I think things might be going from here. First of all, this was an awesome episode. Man, how is it that more people are not watching this show? And they probably are, but how is it that this show is not bigger on YouTube? I don't get it. One of the main thrusts of this channel is actually to really push this show on all my social media platforms. I talk about it to death on Twitter, and I also talk about it a lot on Reddit as well, but I really want to grow some community around this on YouTube. So the show opens with us opening up to the poppy fields, going up to the widow's compound. It's crazy because I still think about Quinn when I see that and how she actually now is in possession of that place. It's amazing to me. So it opens up there. We find Gaius is in the trunk, right? He must have rolled in the trunk actually after he got the beatdown really from Castor. It's probably unfair to call it a beatdown because that was a really good fight. Probably one of the best fight scenes, if not the best fight scenes of season 3. But anyway, Castor did do a number on him. So he finds himself in the widow's trunk, and we find out, lo and behold, the two know each other. So we have a little bit of backstory now, because now that we know that Minerva, or the widow, was a cog in Baron Chau's household, or Baron Chau's house, I guess you might say. House Chau, you might call it. I don't remember hearing something like that earlier. Maybe we did when she was having some discussion with Baron Chau, but I don't remember that. But we find out anyway that there is a relationship between she and Gaius. Some people speculate that that relationship might turn into a love interest. I don't really think so, because I feel like that messes up the widow's primary mission, and I feel like she's had so many issues with men that that's not likely to happen. Although I will say it might be a little interesting to see something like that happen, but I'm not really sure I'm following that opinion about what might happen between those two. But the bottom line is we know that they know each other, right? And we know that there was some care for her on Gaius's part. So now they've woven that into the story. But anyway, it opens with that, right? So we see kind of that whole dialogue. She ends up locking him up, and then we jump to my man MK. My first prediction. So my first prediction was that MK was going to get flipped by Pilgrim. And he does get flipped by Pilgrim. How long the flip lasts, we'll see. How long he's Team Pilgrim, I don't know. But he does get flipped by Pilgrim. So the scene opens with Nick's really caring for him. You know, she rescues him in episode 4, and she's taking care of him. And then there's this conflict between he and Castor, because Castor is sensing that he is about to be replaced, and he feels like MK is a threat. So Castor has a confrontation with MK, and there does seem to be a little something going on, a little bit of, she kind of fine going on between MK and Nyx, and Castor sees this as well when he brings it up. I don't know what Nyx is thinking, but I feel like Nyx has got a little bit of vibe for MK too. We'll see how that whole thing goes. But then we see that dialogue. Now here's the first big thing that's really interesting to me is how Pilgrim and Cressida actually began to manipulate MK. So you notice some of the things that they say to him when they're having a conversation with him, how Pilgrim talks about the greatness of his gift, how Pilgrim talks about how it was unfortunate that he was never born with the abilities of a Dark One. This is something that MK wants to hear because MK is kind of back and forth about his gift. Yeah, he's happy that he has his gift back now so that he can actually do some things. Amongst one of them is avenge Sunny, but MK has always felt like this gift is a burden. Always felt like this gift makes him a bit of an outsider. So Pilgrim knows that, and he strokes MK's ego to make MK feel pulled in. They're manipulating him like a champ. Both of them, Cressida and Pilgrim, are manipulating him like a champ, really trying to pull him, giving him a sense of home, pull him in, giving him a sense of home, giving him a sense of family. They're doing all that like a champ, and he's just like a fish, a hook caught in the fish's mouth, and he's going for it because he has that need. What's interesting about this too is so does Castor. Castor still has that need to belong. That's why he's so concerned about what Pilgrim knows, or about if Pilgrim knows about his sickness and things like that, because he does not want to be cast aside. See what I did there, Castor? Forget it. So, but he does. He has a need for family. He's really a lot like MK. That's why I made another prediction that the Widow is going to actually end up flipping Castor, because Castor has a need for belonging, and he feels himself on the outs here. And you can see that as this episode goes on to episode 5, how he wants to do this work for Pilgrim to really kind of make himself feel worthy to do something for the cause. So it's interesting because you have MK and Castor who both have this need for belonging, and they're about to flip positions. MK is already flipped, and I believe that Castor is going to do the same thing. So we'll talk about a little bit why I think that when we get into the show a little bit later. So then we jump to Bajie and Sunny. Whew. So Bajie and Sunny, you guys, they make it to Imkara at the top of this mountain in like this ice wasteland, and we do find out, where I was wrong about this prediction, that the gift is inside of Sunny. The interesting thing is that somebody, and we know this because Imkara said that, locked that gift for Sunny. Who could do that? So Imkara says she doesn't know who did it, but whoever did it is much more powerful than she is because they had the ability to do it. And she says this person, whoever did this, whoever locked this gift within you, is far more powerful than I am. So we do know now, it is official. I was wrong. I thought that maybe the gift came through Bale. A lot of people said probably not. Some folks on Reddit said probably not. They're pretty sure it's Sunny. You were right. It is Sunny. So Sunny has the gift in him, and apparently Sunny has the gift in him and a power level that's unseen. At first it was MK. MK's level was like unheard of, but now Sunny's level is even more powerful than that. But we've not seen it because somebody locked that gift up in him. So you might get your wish, fans, and I won't lie, I wish for it as well, to see Sunny turn, to see that power actually emerge from him with the fighting skill that he already has. Woo-hoo-wee! Man, how sick would that be? That would be awesome, and I do have a feeling that that is coming. But now we do know that the power resides in Sunny. It's such to the point that he's considered to be, I believe, a conduit, is what she says. So very, very powerful. So it's interesting. Now we know that Sunny has the power of the Dark One. We'll see what they do with the show with that. We'll see what happens with Henry, right? Because Imkara was able to kind of take or heal Henry, so to speak, right? Kind of take away the power, I guess, of the Dark One within him. But she said she couldn't do it completely. She actually said Sunny was really the only one that could get this job done. Here's what's interesting about that. When I saw what Imkara did with Henry, it made me think about Castor. And I feel like somehow, some way, Castor is going to find his way to Imkara. She's got a bigger role to play in this whole thing than what we realize. And I think that what she did for Sunny, she will be able to do for Castor. But Castor, I still think Castor's going to flip. So don't get me wrong there. I don't think that she's going to kind of heal Castor and then Castor's going to go back to Pilgrim. I think the Castor's going to flip because I think the Castor's actually going to find a greater purpose in what Minerva is trying to do in terms of her whole mission with kind of stabilizing the Badlands and getting away from the structure that we have in the Badlands right now. But I do think that Castor and Imkara is going to meet. So Bajie, we find out, also sent out the signal. You guys remember that from, I believe it was at the end, I think, of season 2, right, where Bajie climbs that tower. He sends out the signal. He sends out that signal, and he's looking for help, someone to help them solve the problem in the Badlands, which is interesting because it makes me think about something that Bajie said a couple of episodes later, where someone was telling Bajie, like, there's no hope here, and Bajie was like, come on, there's got to be hope, right? I saw some memes about that too. So that's what Bajie is hoping. He sent out that signal, and he's thinking that signal is going to bring back some good guys to change the situation in the Badlands. But we know from episode 5, it is Pilgrim that picks up on this signal. And Pilgrim has an agenda, right? But we don't necessarily know exactly what it is. We do know it is to kind of usher in a new age of Azura, but we don't know what the agenda is. But Ankara leads us to believe that the agenda is a dark agenda, but I'm not really sure if that is the case with Pilgrim. But we do know that it is Pilgrim that has answered Bajie's call, and he's setting things in motion. So we've got that happening. We do also know that Pilgrim goes to Baron Chau and was like, listen, we need 1,000 men, and basically you're going to give us 1,000 men, or we're going to kick your butts. No, scratch that. We're going to kill you. So gives her this ultimatum. She goes on this quest to gain the manpower because she really can't spare the manpower from the front lines. So she goes into one of the, I can't remember what one of those tribes are, and basically she pulls people in there. She pulls people in. She tries to recruit people to become slaves and fight for her. And then her plan is to give those people to Pilgrim. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this episode. We can also jump back towards the kind of the end of the episode where Cressida is writing on this wall. She's writing, looks like in blood, and she's writing the symbols of Sunny's tattoos on his back. So she realizes now that Sunny is the conduit and that Sunny is coming, for better or for worse. So MK is like, all right, cool, well, good. Bring him to me because I'm going to kill him. And Pilgrim is like, no, our two destinies are intertwined. What I like after that is what Cressida says, where she's like, well, listen, be he enemy or be he foe, he's coming and he will be here soon. So it'll be really interesting to see what Sunny does when he gets there, because he does have this important role, and he is he's pivotal in the plan of Pilgrim. But Sunny's kind of got his own thing going on right now, you guys. Sunny's not the same Sunny, definitely not the same Sunny from season 1. Sunny's changed. He's really much more about other people. He's much more about the life of Henry, and he's kind of resolved that his life doesn't matter, and he's going to do what's best for Henry. So what's interesting about that is that might mean him doing some things for Henry's sake that are not necessarily in the best interest of other people. So that's something to think about when we look at Sunny going forward and what he does in terms of his motivations with how he acts with others if they happen to not be in the best interest of Henry. That's interesting to see as well. So there was a lot of stuff that happened in the show. If I missed anything, you guys make sure that you put it in the comments below. But I thought the show was pretty good because this show actually really now begins to merge the stories, right? Now we really do see this interconnecting narrative that really makes the show so interesting. But here's another thing that maybe you guys didn't notice or not, but I thought it was pretty cool. We really only get one epic fight scene in this whole show, and that's really towards the end. But notice how tense this show was just by virtue of good storytelling. And it's one of the things that makes the Badlands so good. I said in a Facebook group, I'm going to put a link to that Facebook group in the description below. You guys can check it out. It's a pretty cool group, and it's a closed group, right? It's cool. So it's members only. So we get in there and we just talk into the Badlands. So it's a really cool group. So I'll put a link, and hopefully you guys will check it out. I warn you, they give you a little test to make sure that you can answer 3 questions before they'll let you in. But I'm sure you guys will do fine on the test. Truth be told, you could always go to Google and Google the answers. Hopefully I don't get in trouble with that. But it's a really, really cool group. So we talk into the Badlands heavily on there. So, oh man, I just went off on that rant, and I can't remember what I was going to say. Well, that's frustrating. Great job, Al. So anyway, I can't remember what I was going to say. So if you guys remember, that's embarrassing, man. Remind me in the comments. But again, that's what I was going to say. I really love this show because it is the most unique show on TV. And I have a question I want to ask you guys too. It is the most unique show on TV for a lot of different reasons. I mean, it is a show set in a dystopian future. That's not new. We had that with The Walking Dead. We had that with a lot of other shows as well. But it is the writing, the world building, the character development, and the action in this show. When all of those are hitting on the same cylinder, this show is untouchable. And what we saw tonight was an example of all of those hitting on the same cylinder that really make this show as good as it is. So that said, I do have a question for you. So I saw an interview with Al Goa, and he was talking about maybe things to come in the show, and someone from the audience, he was taking questions from the audience. I should have said this earlier in case folks did not make it to this point in the video, because I want to know what you guys think about it. He said he was taking questions from the audience, and somebody from the audience asked, is there ever going to be guns in the episode? I remember reading something before where they were saying that they would never have guns in this episode. I think I remember reading that anyway. But this is interesting. Al's response was possibly yes. I believe that's what he said. If I'm wrong, somebody correct me. So my question to you is, what do you think about guns in this show? I think that's a terrible idea. I think the guns would really kind of take away the essence of the Badlands, to really kind of take away the value of the setting of the show. And the reason I feel that way is, if you're going to have guns also intermixed with bladed weapons, unless you're talking about a movie like Blade or maybe The Matrix or something like that, it just doesn't work well. Because typically, if you have a gun, you're going to beat a guy with a sword. So I say leave the firearms out of it and just continue to have the type of combat that it has right now, because that is part of the core that makes the show so good. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much as always. Please make sure that you go check out Mike B's page. Make sure that you subscribe if you're new here. Thank you so much for joining the discussion. Please comment below. You guys hear that? What's the name is supposed to stop that from happening? Whatever that guard thing is that goes over the mic. Guys, thank you so much as always. The little circular button should be popping up for you to subscribe. Some more watchables on either side of me about the show. I appreciate you. Thanks again, and I will see you on the next video.